Tonight I have the pleasure of proposing Davide as our next VP Welfare. I met Davide when he first arrived at Hatfield, and since then he has proved himself to be extremely friendly, caring and responsible. He has become a Hatfield man through and through, getting involved in rowing, art sock, tea and toast, attending JCR meetings regularly, and can be seen spooning enthusiastically at formal. Even during Freshers Week, he was already determined to get involved in college welfare, and has embraced the role of junior welfare rep. He has attended all the meetings and events, and has masterminded activities such as the Wall of Love, connecting welfare with the Art Society, for which he is social exec. Moreover, you can always count on Dave to put a smile on your face, or indeed give you fashion advice, as attending international schools has made him approachable and open-minded. But being nice and supportive isn't enough for being VP Welfare, I hear you say. Well, having been long-serving house captain at school, as well as a first-year food rep at Hatfield, Dave has equipped himself with leadership skills and the ability to liaise between the student body and the college management, which are vital for the role of VP Welfare. He's also an innovative organiser, having hosted concerts and fashion shows in the past. Davide is utterly committed to improving college life and would like a wider range of Hatfielders to feel comfortable using welfare, especially international students, and live this out. He also proposes to increase the awareness of the wide range of resources available to Hatfield students. Finally, a few of you might be wondering if Davide, as a fresher, has what it takes to be VP Welfare. I believe doing this demanding job in his first and second years actually means he can dedicate more time and effort to it, and above all shows considerable courage and commitment. He hasn't just applied to be VP Welfare for the sake of it. He has thought it through and really wants to make a difference. So, ladies and gentlemen, if you want a VP Welfare who's wonderfully friendly, supportive, responsible, competent, and most importantly, really cares for people, I invite you to consider Davide. Take a leap of faith, and I promise you won't regret it. Thank you.
It's my pleasure to stand before you all tonight to praise Katherine Maclennan for the role of VP Welfare. Since coming to Durham, she's contributed an enormous amount to Hatfield, throwing herself into all aspects of college life with great enthusiasm and unwavering commitment. The role of VP Welfare requires an individual with a sensitivity to aid the well-being of others in a confidential and non-judgmental manner. On a more practical level, organisation, time management skills and the ability to lead a team are just as crucial. In Katherine, you're someone who has consistently displayed these qualities during her time here. Working with her as an open day rep and seeing her prepping this year, I know she's had a significant impact upon freshers and fellow reps. She was always eager to get herself involved and lend a hand to anyone that seemed lost or unsure. And from speaking to some of the applicants over open days, it was clear that Katherine was an integral part of their experience, influencing many of their decisions in choosing Durham as first choice. Being a member of the rowing, hockey and women's rugby clubs, Katherine is very well regarded within sporting circles. This year she also joined the welfare team as a junior rep. Her ability to organise an event as big as the all-college social demonstrates her capacity to coordinate large numbers, as well as promoting a welfare that's very accessible to the JCR. Katherine's ends coordinator for this year's line and winter ball. Being a part of the Exec for this has taught her to listen actively, communicate constructively and demonstrate reliability, qualities that she can also bring to your Exec committee next year. Outside of Hatfield Life, Katherine volunteers at a children's hospice. She works with both terminally ill children and their families within an activities team, and her role is wide-ranging and can involve anything from music therapy with an affected child to spending an afternoon playing with a sibling. Her willingness to help, lend a hand and provide care and comfort to those around her are qualities that make her an outstanding VP Welfare candidate. In summary, Katherine is incredibly dedicated, both to Hatfield College and to the welfare of its members. She's approachable and committed, as well as having the enthusiasm and drive to give her all both to the position of VP Welfare and to your Exec next year.
And if there ever was a time when your welfare was yourself. So I think you have to be really self-aware in this role, like making sure you are looking after yourself and you are making time for yourself so that you're centred. And I know that VP Welfare and also JWO, they both have counselling every term, so I suppose that would like help with that and just being aware of how you're getting on yourself. And I think in a position such as that, where somebody else had an issue, I would hope that if I really wasn't in a position to be helping myself, that I would be able to pass them on to another member of the welfare team if they were comfortable with that. And potentially JWO were one of our 3 seniors, but I suppose if they weren't, I would have to assess how I was and how urgent their issue was, and it would really just be quite case specific, I think.
I think welfare is just, your own welfare is like a massive important thing, because if you're not in there at that time being confident with yourself, then I think it'd be really detrimental to your relationship with that person who's looking for welfare. So therefore, I've got a really good support system. I've always got my family, my mum, and just my friends, and also my church just really helps sometimes, just like going that time away. And obviously the counselling service is also a very useful thing to have. As for if I myself knew that I had a problem with my own welfare, I'd look into the context of the situation, whether I could delegate it to, for example, one of the to JWO, who's there for that reason, to try and alleviate sometimes stress between the VP welfare's role, as well as maybe one of the senior welfare roles.
This year, the DSU has changed the way that awareness weeks run in college. So before, just in case you're not aware, we had individual awareness weeks approaching different issues, such as the effects of alcohol or mental health, and we have individual weeks for these. Whereas this year, issues have been grouped together into 2 big awareness weeks, being twice in one world. So what are your thoughts on this change, and how would you develop this in the future?
I think it's a fantastic thing that we just have like 2 weeks where welfare is advertised quite intensely in a way. Not that it's a bad thing, but just those 2 weeks where you can deal with those really big subjects or issues. Even though sometimes having quite big issues like that being dealt with just in 2 weeks doesn't give you enough time or the resources to deal with them. But if you kind of make it itty-bitty and like spread them out through the whole term, people lose the interest of welfare. And if you have quite a big bang, as we've had, well, I hope we have, you get more of that sense of like, maybe I should consider about these areas in my life. What was the second part, sorry?
And just how would you develop this or change it in the future?
I wouldn't change it. I think that's I'm quite positive. I think it's quite a good change, the fact that we've switched to quite a 2-week campaign, a fortnight campaign, and just really develop that. Throughout those two weeks, we don't just concentrate everything on the weekend or just spread out throughout those 2 weeks different events, so they're not all amalgamated together, so it gives enough time for people to go to them.
First of all, I think it's really good that Hackle's chosen to have it over a fortnight rather than just 1 week, which is what the majority of the colleges do, because obviously if you were trying to fit it all into 1 week, there would be maybe 2 events a day and you probably wouldn't get enough of a turnout at each one because there'd be so many at a time. I also think it is a positive rather than having so many. I think people might stop paying attention if like every other week you're supposed to be focusing on a different issue. And also obviously a lot of issues do overlap and are relevant to each other, so dealing with them together can be a really good way of dealing with it as like issues as a whole. I think maybe just more forward planning would improve it in the future. I know that the All College Social last term was quite, like, everybody did quite enjoy that and it was a good turnout. And we considered doing that again this term, but there wasn't really enough time to give the social sector notice. So maybe at the beginning of the year we could like form a strategy and think, okay, what different types of events could we do? How could we split them between the two big campaigns, and maybe get dates in the diary earlier on, potentially using Luke's Twitter and Facebook and whatnot. So yeah, that's probably how I would develop it, but I generally think it's quite a positive change this year.
Last question is, what do you see yourself doing in the role as VP Welfare in comparison to Jason Welfare Officer?
Well, I think what a lot of people maybe don't realise because of the term VP is that actually the welfare is split equally between JWO and VP Welfare. So in terms of welfare, you are on equal footing there, and I would be planning to form like a real partnership, really having it as a team as opposed to either being in a more senior position. But obviously you have your VP duties on top of that, which is really where the distinction comes in between VP and welfare. So yeah, in terms of welfare, I would like to make that clearer to the JCR that obviously as of here we are on an equal footing, and you can come to either one of us for anything, and then have the VP thing understood as more of a separate issue where I sit on various committees or appoint various reps at the beginning of the year. So that's where I would see the distinction, and I think probably the JCR should be more aware of that, so they see JWO as us more of a team.
I think the big distinction with VP Welfare is obviously the VP side of it, but I don't think people understand that VP mean that when there's all these different committees, so the College Council or the Health and Safety Forum or the Food Committee, that the VP Welfare is there to represent all of you. So I'd like to advertise more that as a fact, but I wouldn't want to detract the idea that, as Katherine said, we are VP Welfare with JWO is a partnership, and so I'd really advocate the idea of just really boosting that kind of partnership together and really promote it as one.
In which areas of welfare do you see there to be a potential for improvement, and are there any areas that you'd like to develop or expand on?
Yes, as seen in my manifesto, and as I've pointed out, I think international students are quite a bit of a community in Hatfield, which are sometimes disregarded about, and myself as an international student, arriving here from Rome and being a bit lonely and drifty, it does feel a bit it's quite intimidating at first, thinking it's like a big, wonderful place. So one thing I really push for is to have maybe a set of welfare hour drop-ins, just so that the international students know about welfare from the start, because I think it's really good, because they are the most prone to leave, or the most vulnerable, because they've just had to give so much, while a home student still has that backing of like, I can always go back to the weekend to see my family and feel more secure about me being in university. Also the idea of maybe having like a welfare picnic, just like a general feeling, not just being like an individual thing with the welfare hours. Just having, not even maybe the VP welfare or the JWO, but also having like a senior welfare rep to be there, to be present, so they can immediately associate it with being with welfare. One other thing I was looking for was like the lives out, because I know it's quite a big thing, and what if elected, I'd immediately look into the lives out situation, and one thing I was thinking about was maybe looking into better locations for welfare hour drop-ins, so maybe having like a bit centre specific, so looking maybe in a cafe or a place in the Viaduct, so have some welfare hours there and some of them in Giles Gate. But also trying to and just boost the idea of like what do you call it? Just like a forum or channel or medium, where lives out can voice their opinions. One of the things I was thinking of was like an anonymous forum as another way to advertise to like a channel to go contact welfare. So I know like sites like Springform or yeah, like that, where people can type in questions, and you can set it so that it could be private, so only VP Welfare or J would be able to see that request. That would also be quite handy if like you're someone who lives abroad, so also for getting them. Yeah.
I agree with what Davide said in terms of improving the international side of welfare. I think given that VP is involved in choosing the international reps who then are reps throughout the year, you could maybe make that more, not exactly part of the job description, but maybe just emphasise that to them a little bit, that like you would be hoping to work with them at some point during the year, maybe organising events. Because I know it has been talked about having a senior international welfare officer, but I mean we already have 3 seniors, so it might just be easier to do it through these reps instead, like if they were willing to do that. And also maybe have, I'm not sure if this is the case just now, but have JLO and VP present in those previous 4 days before all the other freshers arrive, when the international freshers are here earlier, just so that they're like aware that there is a system in place for them if they need it. The other thing I would probably look to improve is the use of the welfare phone in terms of people texting for supplies. Because I know that that is an option at the moment, but I'm not sure that many people do, because I actually would just realise when I was reading my pre-election pack. I know that probably a lot of people are a bit, maybe don't really want to come up to the welfare room and ask for various things, so probably having it put in your pigeonhole is a good idea. And I also really liked what Luke did earlier this term. Luke Holman is our Livers Out Welfare, and he did a drop through your letterbox thing, so as a house you could order supplies, which I think is a really good thing, because as Davide said, there are issues with Livers Out Welfare, like people not coming to drop-ins and things. I'm not sure how that would improve exactly, because Luke has done a lot of research into it this year and not had particularly great results, but I know that for a lot of people would solve some issues. But mainly what I'd like to improve on is just college's general perception of welfare, because it was brought up on Monday night, this idea of welfare not wanting you to drink or not wanting you to do this or whatever. Whereas I think welfare should be seen more as just like a general support system in all senses, and also just like a way to have fun and relax potentially. So I thought the All College Social last term was really positive for that. Like we did get a lot of clubs getting involved, and the social sex were really supportive. And also hopefully blind date tomorrow will be a success. I'm really excited about that. So I think through events like that, or maybe working with the social set or like other members of the exec to create events, you could promote a more accessible welfare that's not just about, I don't know, alcohol awareness or whatever. It's about more than that. It can be more everyday for the whole JSCAR. Any questions from the floor? Yes,
Hatfield College welfare is renowned not only throughout the college but also on a uni-wide level. How would you look to promote Hatfield welfare on a uni-wide basis?
As in promote to other colleges?
Yeah, so part of your role as VP welfare would be to liaise with other VP welfare officers and also sit on committees on a uni-wide basis.
Yeah.
How would you represent all of our welfare?
So you don't quite get it. So just representing to other colleges.
Yeah. How would you go about doing that? What do you think would be the best way?
Well, if Hatfield's quite known to be quite a good welfare system, I would boast about it. And if they would have any problems or any issues that they'd come up to me and be like, oh, I don't know how I would tackle that, I'd give them my advice or tell them how maybe Hatfield doesn't know how it's worked and how it's not worked, and just still show that welfare is a key issue within every college, I think. And, yeah, I don't think it's I think it doesn't matter as long as welfare is given to every person within the university.
I was only part of the welfare team this year, so I was a little bit ignorant of it last year, and I've only just really heard about how well respected Hatfield's welfare is, and obviously that makes me really proud, and I would want to continue that. And obviously it's great if other colleges were to look to us for help or direction in any kind of way. I think when you're sitting on these committees, it's really important because you're representing the whole college. it wouldn't be about me in any sense. It would be more about representing the college fairly and how the college feels about things. Obviously passing on what has worked for us would be really positive for other colleges, and I would also be really willing to speak to them about what's worked for them, so that just as a university we can have a really positive welfare systems throughout. Something that we've done this week, last night as well, is invite other colleges to some of our events, because they are applicable to everybody, and I think doing that would really improve things as well. Because the colleges have the campaigns at the same time, so it's relevant to them. It's probably in their JCR emails. So if we're putting on events that maybe they can be doing, we should invite them to ours, and vice versa. And hopefully through that, everybody will be a little bit more educated, a little bit more welcome.
Tea and Toast is probably one of welfare's kind of greatest successes. Would you seek to develop Tea and Toast and put it on more nights, or what are your feelings on that? Would you extend the hours, or how do you see the future in the Tea and Toast?
I think at the moment the Wednesdays as well as Fridays has been really good this year, because obviously Wednesdays a big night out for most people. I think potentially it going later would be good, because some people do come back later, but you obviously have to think about the volunteers, and like they would have to be willing to do this, and obviously you'd have to get permission from the porters and things, so it would be something that you would have to look into and get a lot of okays from a lot of people. And also it's obviously a large budget, but I think in terms of Tea and Toast, something that again we're having this week is they're putting on Rent on Friday as a part of Tea and Toast for like the campaigns and stuff. So I think you could probably start theming Tea and Toast, have like other events at the same time. So I don't know, you could have a pool competition one night, things like that. Things like that, that would maybe like draw people in and just make Tea and Toast more than actually just sitting and drinking tea and eating toast. Although apparently it's popular enough as it is, so maybe I don't need to do that.
I think with Wednesdays being open this year, it's been a great thing. I'm always there practically, but on a Wednesday, people are always there, or on a Friday. So I think Tea and Toast is a really popular thing, and just keep going on with the Wednesday and Friday Tea and Toast nights. Being on it several times, I do find myself that by the end of like 2 o'clock, it like does really wear you down, and just wake up the next morning. So I think the timing is quite good, because it's enough time for people to come and get their Tea and Toast. And anyway, every night it does end up to be later, like 10 or 15 or 20 minutes later. So I think for now, Tea and Toast is quite good timing-wise. So I don't see any great major developments of it. But I think maybe more every now and then, like more fortnightly, like themed nights. So tying them in with like what's happening in college, or what's happening in like around the world. So like maybe having like a themed Chinese New Year one on Friday. So yeah.
Welfare can sometimes, or perhaps just in the past, be categorised as kittens and rainbows. Hannah and Alice have done an excellent job this year, but how would you guys continue their good work and also make sure that welfare doesn't fall into that quite dangerous area?
I was thinking about this actually, and yeah, Hannah and Alice have done a remarkable job. But just when next year, if elected, I'd really pick carefully who I'd put in my welfare team, and to try and get as many diverse people as I could this year, in order not to have always a kind of stereotype that welfare seems to have received. But I think that we're all quite different anyway, and people do bring a lot of different things. I just maybe get members of the welfare and see what they're interested in, and like bring that out into new welfare campaigns. So if someone is really into, I don't know, like we had sign language, but if someone had like really liked Braille or some different types of art, or just bring their passions as well, and show that welfare isn't just always the kind of same things, but there's like other sides of us as well.
Yeah, I think these guys have done a great job this year, and I do think that over the course of this year, welfare has become less welfare maybe. I similar people, I would hold that against them. But I think what I was saying before about making a welfare more accessible to the JCR and more of an everyday through things like socials and events and things that don't maybe seem as specifically welfare is probably a good way of making people think, oh, actually this does relate to me. Because I think at the moment, yeah, people see welfare as just like something that's not really about them. So yeah, I would like to be working, and I would like to work with lots of different bodies like DUF or the social sex of the clubs, and also obviously on the exec, to have as varied events as we could have, and so to appeal to as wide a group as possible within the JCR, so that people don't see it as one specific thing, but just see it as something that's going on all the time and can be in all different forms and can be relevant to them. And it's fun.
Position to own the past, for example, Robin House haven't been that well attended. Is there any way you could, like, do we need 3 senior reps and like delegate more?
As I said, this is my first year on welfare, so I don't actually have that much experience in terms of that. Although I would, if I was elected, in terms of handover and things, so you have your 3 seniors right until the end of their term. So I would speak to them in terms of their opinion, how they found it this year. I know that Luke's worked really hard with Livers Out, and I think that that is an important position because obviously that's such a large percentage of the college. In terms of male and female, there are obviously issues which are gender specific, which you maybe wouldn't want to speak to somebody of the opposite sex about. So I think it would be important to at least have one of each on your team, whether it's 3 people or 4, whether they were female reps or. So I think that is important. But maybe we were talking earlier about international reps, or maybe there could just be more of, rather than there being specific roles, maybe they could share it out more equally, so that there wasn't maybe one specific Livers Out rep, but there was maybe more, all 3 of them allotted some of their time to it, maybe working more as a team. Online winter ball this year, Chach is my secretary, and at the beginning we were given slightly different roles, but as it turned out, as we went along, we've basically done everything as a team and just divvied up how we thought we'd do things best. So she's ended up doing a lot of the law stuff, I've done a lot of other things. So maybe just generally keeping the lines of communication open and working more as a team would be more effective rather than having specific roles.
I think the 3 senior welfare reps have done a phenomenal job this year, and it's just they're just so good and just so approachable that I don't see how you would improve to get a better senior welfare rep. I mean, obviously, when picking them, you just have to be quite thorough and see just carefully how people react to them, because I think that's a big thing. But it's really hard, I think, to move like quite like a mass body as a college into like going more, because they see maybe that the fact that like VP welfare and JCR welfare officer have quite a big role, so they think they're more not talented, but more prepared and more equipped to deal with it. So maybe just the fact of like maybe delegating more jobs to, or just upping up their sense of authority might help. But I think just the fact that, a sense of consistency and the consistency of being approachable, the consistency of having always welfare hours is, I think, a massive thing. Just to always have welfare to be available for people. Yeah.
A 2-pronged question. One area that I kind of noticed when going to the welfare room is it's quite dingy. Would you consider kind of refurbing the welfare room or introducing kind of beanbags? And how would you get boys more involved in welfare, as it's tended to be quite female dominated in the past?
I think the welfare room does need a bit of like a refurb, I do agree. Just maybe going over with a bit of liquid paint and just decorating it a bit might make it more appealing. But I think it's a really good position where it is. In fact, there's all the way up to top of D stairs where it's still quite accessible, but yet quite, it's not very noticeable if you're going up the welfare maybe just, I was thinking about that, having to like just give it a bit of a nicer look. But I'll look into the feedback. And the second question was?
How to get boys more
Boys, right. I think I think during the welfare campaigns, activities, we can look into more activities which would appeal more to boys, so maybe more sporty things. I'm a boy, I mean, I don't know, I like all the welfare things. Yeah, just maybe, I look into that, I think, just looking into how, once again, like looking into when doing the interview process and looking at the different candidates to pick really carefully who you have in, who you get in, yeah, Exec. So yes, but yeah, just look at what activities you offer, maybe offer them more to more activity, like, yay, let's run around thing.
Yeah, in terms of the welfare room, I think where it is really good because it's, you wouldn't feel like you'd be overheard there or whatever, you kind of feel like a bit tucked away, so I think that's probably quite reassuring for people, although I agree with you, it's not particularly exciting looking, so definitely a refurb, if there's budget for it, would be great. Although, maybe we could take a vote on how people want it to be decorated, beanbags or stools or something, whatever. I don't know, this is like something. In terms of getting boys involved, I think probably for junior reps, in terms of being like involved on the team, I think probably for junior reps the greatest intake is from freshers, and maybe trying to just generally publicise welfare and publicise the idea of being involved in welfare during Freshers Week, because the reps are appointed really quite early on, and I kind of blinked and missed it last year, which is why I only got involved this year. And even then, like, some people, if freshers time is really busy, probably not reading your emails properly, it might just sort of pass you by, so maybe if we try to publicise it a bit more and made it so it's not as much about pigeons and rainbows, we might get some more male interest. And as Davide was talking about the campaigns, I think you could have some more male-related things such as sports, or quite a good group of boys doing blind dates tomorrow night. So things like that, drawing them in, some ladies. I'm sure you can come up with events that guys would be willing to get involved in, and through advertising more about being a part of the welfare team, you would hopefully get more male participants in that too.
If we haven't got any further questions for you, Zach, it'd be great to move on to the team around it.
Yeah, I didn't really want to write anything for this because I figured you guys have been sitting for quite a long time anyway. Just sort of wanted to say that I know I haven't been doing welfare within college for very long, but as Simon mentioned, I have been volunteering for a long time at home, and it is something that I'm really passionate about. I really care about it, and I have experience. I know what I would be getting myself into. I am understanding, caring. I understand the confidentiality thing to an absolute T. Working at the hospice that I do, like, you can't discuss anything, so that's not an issue. And just, yeah, I have done a lot this year, so in terms of time management, I backed myself more than I thought I would probably. Between lineman to ball, running for this, various sports, maths degree. I've gotten to be quite good at managing myself and my duo. So yeah, hopefully I will be able to be good on both VP and welfare counts. So thank you for listening.
Okay. I know I'm a fresher, but although I'm young, I'm really willing to learn. From my time at Hatfield, I've so far gained a wealth of knowledge and experience through my role as first year food rep and working in the welfare team, as well as my previous work at school, constantly liaising with the school student body and the management. Furthermore, being a second year means I'll have considerable time to devote to the role, and I'm absolutely committed to college life, hence my decision to live in next year. The 9-line training weekend has taught me to deal with extremely difficult issues. Although I found that really personally taxing just going through that weekend, I persevered to show my commitment to welfare. And this taught me how to be non-judgmental and confidential, which are key to the role. This challenging experience has made me more suitable for the diverse welfare needs of Hatfield's student body. Some improvements that I wasn't able to mention were, for instance, just really publicising the whole of the services welfare has, so maybe putting welfare board somewhere which is more primed for location rather than with crowded Waters Lodge, or to advertise the phone line. So I thought a bit like Nightline, where they have the number at the back of meal cards for the livers in, but also have like those business cards and the pigeonholes, and also put the letterbox up somewhere more obvious, as well as the anonymous forum that I was talking about before. And just also livers abroad, they're quite a big part of our community, which I think sometimes get forgotten about. And just send them maybe just welfare monthly emails to see how they are. And I was also thinking about, like, for the JCR meeting, though, they could also be streamed and put on YouTube channels, so they also know what's happening around. And also for the Stress Less campaign, JT, the idea of obviously a mini tournament with croquet, so that's quite male orientated. And also just to get people out of their rooms, because sometimes I feel really claustrophobic. And just say, yeah, maybe friends marathon. So for those of you who've seen me in college, you'll know I'm incredibly friendly and always here for a chat, approachable to anyone, and have a bountiful, full of fierce fashion advice. And most importantly, my door will always be open.